Good afternoon and welcome to Riverside Crafts. This afternoon I'm going to be showing you how I do this technique, which is like a porthole or a into seeing it behind. So you've got a layers with parchment or vellum depending on what you have, and also how to do the stamping where you're going to have multiple stamps but they're going to sit behind each other. So I'm going to explain how I do that. First off, I'm going to start off with the stamping. Okay, so using my stamp platform, I have a piece of parchment. Okay, I'm going to peel off my stamp, which is a woodware stamp. It's by Francois Reed, and it's quite a nice one actually. So I'm just going to centre it where I want it to be on my parchment in the middle, because I'm going to do two torn edges. So I'm going to sort of sit it into the middle, okay, as straight as I can. And then I'm just going to press down so it's attached. Now I'm using a permanent ink, so it'll be, I'm using archival, but you can use stays on just as well, depending on which ones you've got in your cupboard. I'm just going to give it a really good tap over to make sure that I've got it well inked, because one of the things about these sorts of inks is they dry quite quickly, so you need to make sure you've definitely got enough on there and be quite firm when you're pressing down. So just going to push that down, and there's my first impression. Right, now what I'm going to do next is, what I've done, I've already pre-done this ready, is I've stamped it onto a post-it note. You can use the masket tape, paper you can get as well. I just had a post-it at home, so I've just done that. I've got two little tiny bits here to put on as well, on those little flowers. So I'm just going to cover those over. One there and one there. In the right place. Pokey tool would be useful. Here we go. Pokey tool it into the right place so it's not upside down. Would help, wouldn't it? Come on. Do as you're supposed to, please. Put that one there. Where did I put the other one? It's gone. I've got them both stuck together now, I bet you. Yep, I have. So we've got one for there. In a minute, just put it in quickly. Turn it around. Lay it down. That's that one on. Okay, and then that's this one on. Oh, it's fiddly. Today I'm having a fiddly one. There we go. On. Right. Now I'm going to move my stamp. I'm going to pick it off there, and I'm going to lay it where I want it to be next. So I'm going to just lay it across here and slightly raising it, so I want it to look like it's sort of a bit further back. So I'm going to slightly raise it from where it was previously and pick it up again. Again, I'm going to stamp it using the archival. Giving it a good tap. Okay. There we go. Put it down. Give it a good push. There we are, there's one, that's one bit done. Okay, now I'm just going to put my back on here. So it's covering it again where I need it to. Lovely. I'm going to lay this where I want it on the other side of the so it's covering where I had my other bit for a minute. Okay, so that's going to be slightly higher into the back. Just pick it up quickly. Put my ink on it. I hope you're all having a nice weekend so far, and that you're all well, and thank you for joining me again this week. There we go. So put that out of the way for a minute now. As you can see, that's my stamped image now. So I've got my stamped image quite nicely. For colouring it, I tend to sit a piece of white card underneath it, because then I can really see what I'm colouring. Okay, now I have got a selection of pencils here. They're all sorts, but they are all a blendable pencil. They're not a watercolour pencil, they're all a blendable pencil. And that's mainly because then I can sort of mix and match them around a bit. So I will show you how I'm going to go from there. First of all, I'm going to colour in my flowers that I've got on here. So I've got a really nice yellow here to go onto these so they really stand out. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit of orange at their base just to give them a little bit of a more of a colour. Now I will take more time over colouring the centre one that's going to be, that you'll see more of because of the this piece that's being taken out. So when I'm colouring them, this one was going to have more shading on it than these two, because these two are set behind the parchment, so you get that sort of diffused look. Okay, just so you're aware. Right, start colouring. We'll do some leaves first. And I do all the leaves in the same, so I'll do whichever leaf I'm starting with, those leaves will all be done, that particular plant will all be done with the same pencil, so they will all look the same. Okay. Some of these pencils are the Crafter's Companion ones, and they're very nice to use for this sort of work. They work really well on this paper, on parchment. One of the nice things about parchment is parchment will hold the colour really well. It keeps it, it's sort of like, and you can blend more colours into it if you want to. So you can see that I'm just adding a bit of colour in here. I'm going to take the previous pencil and just move that around a bit and help blend it along, so it will just take its colour in. Okay. I'm not going to worry about these ones. I'm just going to leave those as they are. I'm not going to try and blend them any more than they already are. All right. So that's those two colours I've already used. I'm going to use, I think, a bright green. Let's have a look. We've got a bright green here and a slightly darker green. I'm going to use a bright green, I think. Here we go. Yeah, this one will be nice because I've got this on the front cactus, the big cactus. I'm just going to do some bright green on that one. As you can see, I'm not worrying about directional work, which way I'm doing. I'm literally just doing it backwards and forwards, going through the colours, because on these bits it's not really going to be particularly obvious how you've coloured it, if that makes sense. You just want to make sure you've got a good covering of colour. Okay, I'm just going to do the same on this one for a minute, and then I'll show you how I make the other one a little bit more detailed in the middle, because I want a little bit more blending in that one. This pencil is a one from the Pergamano set. Like I said, I've got a real mixture of pencils. I've had some of them for a very long time now. But to be honest, there are so many out there, and bits, and we have some really nice ones in the shop as well, which is what some of these are from the shop that I've collected over the years from them. But you want a blendable pencil because it will, on parchment or vellum, it will move more. Watercolour pencil is lovely, but it doesn't work so well on parchment. It's sort of, you need it to move differently. So you want it to be able to move together, if that makes sense. Right, so here we go. Now I'm going to put my other colour in, and I'm going to start blending it. And as you can see, I'm just going to bring it along the edges here. So I'm just putting it in and just bringing some along the edges. Oh, I'm breaking the pencil. That's good. Not really. Putting too much pressure on it. And I'm looking at where there would be naturally some more shading. So there's going to be a bit more shading where it's joining each other. So at the bases, where it's joined onto another piece, underneath edges, all of those sorts of bits are going to be a little bit darker. So as you can see, I'm starting to add my colours in. I'm just going to go back over and give this a little bit more. You see how much more colour is now going into this one than the other two, but you're not going to notice it so much because you're going to be doing, because it's going to have how it's going to work for the porthole. If you've got questions, please leave them at the end and I in the comments, and I will endeavour to answer. I'm just going to put a little bit more of a darker green along this edge because I want a bit more depth there. That's better. There we go. Can you see how this is sort of darkening it off a bit? I'm putting a little bit more shade in. There we go. So that one's got a little bit more shape and depth than what these two have. All right, which just helps with it all sort of doing together quite nicely. Right, I'm going to use a yellowy green, and then quite a definite dark green on the what would be the aloe vera. So I'm just going to put this bright green in for now, for where it's going to be. Okay. Turn it around. I tend to move my paper rather than trying to move my hand. That way you don't get so many smudges on your parchment, because it's very easy to smudge what you're working with, because you get it all over your fingers. Either that, or you stick a tissue under your hand when you're working to help stop it from blending and moving stuff you don't. So you work off a tissue and it will help, or a piece of kitchen roll. And what it does is it stops you getting so many marks on what you're doing. Okay, let's put some darker green in the edges here at the base. I'm just going to put a little bit of dark green on this one because you want it to look a bit more like an aloe vera, so you get that dark edge on it just a little bit. Okay, just putting a little bit more along the base there, and we can take it up along the outer edges, and then I'm going to put my bright green back in and blend that all back together. Right. Okay, so I've got my greens done. I'm just going to do my little flowers at the top here, and I'm going to do them pink, and that's going to go all the way across, so they'll all be pink. One of the nice things about using pencil crayons like in this sort of work is it's quick. So it makes it a nice, easy card to do. Because parchment is very forgiving with pencil work. If you try to colour like this on paper, you'll get lots of lines in it that won't blend out so easily. Parchment is made slightly differently in how it's finished, so it actually is a smoother finish, so you tend to get it's a lot easier to colour onto. And that's the same with vellum. It hasn't got that texture. Just a little bit of red at the bases of these pink ones here, just to give them a little bit more of a colour. And go back over with my pink. Okay. Right, so that's my cactuses done. I'm just going to do my bowls. Now, because parchment is like it is, you don't get it's not white. So if you want to put white in it, you have to colour it white. Otherwise it's not going to work. Okay. Now I did all the bowls the same, just for ease when I was colouring, so that we've got the same pencil in my hand for all of them. Nice bright blue here. I'll put some blue in. me think of like the Mexican brightly coloured china when I see lots of cactuses like this. It makes me think of that real sort of feeling of sun. Okay. Okay, hope you can see all the colours now, and it's all looking nice and bright and cheerful. Okay, one of the nice things about colouring is that you can sort of lose yourself in what you're doing. Right. I'm just going to stick some white on. Now, I'm just going to put it over some black card because I can't see how much white I'm putting on. So I'm just going to put some black card underneath it and put some white on so I can see that I'm getting it nice and white. Okay, so we're getting there now. We're nearly finished. There's the purple one gone because I've just forgot a bit there. Put my purple in. Then we should have a little bit more yellow wherever I've put it. I know I should have a bright yellow one here somewhere. Orange, green, green. Oh, well, we'll use the pink. No, we won't. Red. We'll use a green. That will work. Right, pencils out the way. Next thing I've done is using my circle dies. I've cut out my porthole, so it's cut there quite nicely. Okay, I'm now going to just do some rough tearing. Now, when I tear this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come towards me because I want there to be a rough white edge. So I'm bringing it towards me so that the white torn edge is more obvious here. Okay, so I'm tearing it towards me. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this piece. So I'm going to lay it over where I want it. Okay, just going to be roughly there. And I'm going to tear it, but it's not going to tear exactly the same because I don't necessarily want it to be exactly the same. So it's not going to tear exactly, but what this will do is give me different layers when I'm looking at it, which will look quite nice. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. Okay, so that's my tearing done. Right, so here's my over the top. Now, so that this stands out slightly more, I didn't do it on my original, but I should have done. I was rushing around and didn't get there to get it done in the end. But I want my porthole to stand out a bit more, so I'm just going to go around the edge and put a stitched line on it. Okay, so it stands out. And I'm just using a micron pen to do this. This is a 0.4, and it's quite nice to use to go around the edge to do. A micron pen is permanent. It will dry quickly, so you're less likely to smudge it than you are a water-based ink pen on parchment or vellum. The circle die set that I've used is the one we've got in the shop, and it does give you, if you out for the circle piece, you get a beautiful stitched line going around it, which is really nice. And that, there's nothing to stop you from using that as a topper to do something with. So it gives you that. So there's that's going on to there quite nicely, like so. Right, now I need a piece of black card trimming down. Let's get my guillotine. I'm just going to have a look to make sure I'm the right sort of width, because I've also got to trim my parchment on either end. So I'm just going to do that now as well, while I'm just keeping an eye on what I'm looking at. Okay, so I'm just going to take a bit off that one. Okay, turn it and do similar. And take a bit off that edge. Okay, and I'm going to lay this onto here. And I'm just going to trim my black card down to match in. Okay. Make sure it's in line there. And then I'm going to turn it and just trim off my excess quite happily. There we go. Now, I use brads to hold this down, because parchment and vellum don't like glue. It shows up when you use it. So rather than get all having to put lots of things on it to try and hide my glue, I'm just going to use a couple of brads to hold it in place. Now, to put a brad in place, I'm just going to turn this slightly so it's all lined up as best as I can be. Right, here's my brads. Just going to want 4 the same. So just get 1, 2, 3. Oh, we've got plenty there. That will do us. Yeah, 4 the same there, no problem. Here's a pokey tool, which is here. And I'm just going to push through all 3 layers. So it's going through my black card and my 2 layers of parchment or vellum, whichever I'm using. I can pick that up and push my brad through. Now, if you've not used a brad before, you push it through your hole, and then you get back, you've got 2 little tiny metal prongs, and you just splay them out like so. So that gives you, and then that will hold whatever it is you're putting into position and make it look neat and tidy. Okay. So that goes into there quite nicely, like so. There's a good selection of brads at the shop, so you can get them in all sorts of colours and do. But they are a nice way to hold parchment in place. Makes it look a little bit more finished. Come on, mute. There we go. And there we go. That then is how I've made my porthole parchment. This one has been lined onto some pink card to bring my pink flowers out, and I've just stamped again across the top here with one of the sentiments off it, which was just for you. So it's a nice quick way of giving you something different for a card topper. Okay, you have different textures. You've got a few different techniques. So you've got your masking techniques, a little bit of colouring and shading, and then just some rough tearing. Gives it a little bit of a different edge to it. And I've just put my stitch line around my porthole, so it looks a lot more finished. So that's what I've done this week. I hope you like it. Just so you know, we're staying with the same stamp because I wanted to show you some different options to do with it. So last week we did it on lollipop sticks, didn't we? So we got the, let me have a check. Yeah, here we go. This was last week. So we did those two. So just see how different it is. So we did that last week and this week. And next week we're going to be doing this, which is a decoupage version. So it's just looking at how many different things we can do with it. And I have got one final one to do after that one, which will be a surprise for you to know next week. So there's 3 that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing this one next week, and it's using distress inks. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye bye.